TikTok continues to innovate and outgrow other social media apps, and podcasting could be their next target.
And now, a look at what's trending in the podcast world and how it can help your show. It's the Jag Show Podcast.
Pod News via audio means reports that there is a new bot scraping our feeds, or in English, another party is starting to look at our podcasts. And it traces back to TikTok servers. Details are scant so far, but this makes total sense. TikTok has been rapidly gaining on other social media apps, so it only makes sense they'd want a bite of the podcast pie as well. What I find really interesting is, will they work out deals with record labels so you can include commercial music in your podcast like you can on your TikTok videos? We're probably a long way from the answer on that, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Speaking of big names in podcasting, YouTube continuing to increase their efforts in the space. You can now purchase ads in YouTube podcasts through Google Ads. And if you haven't seen what YouTube's podcasting space looks like yet, you can go to youtube.com/podcasts. Just know it's only available in the US at this point. So how often does shared podcast listening happen? As in more than one person listening together? In a new study from SiriusXM and Edison Research, as much as 12% of podcast listeners report listening with someone else, including in-car and in other places. This can result in a 5% boost to impressions for podcast advertisers. Co-listening happens in the home, too, usually while cooking or eating together. There's a link to this survey in today's show notes. And speaking of Edison Research, you know I'm a big fan of almost everything they put out. Next Thursday, they're releasing their spoken word audio report for 2022. It's going to look at how spoken word audio fits into overall audio listening in the U.S., and there's going to be a special focus on Gen Z listeners. And if you're not paying attention to them, you should be. They were born between roughly 1995 and 2010, which means the oldest Gen Zers are close to 30 years old now and have significant disposable income to spend. There's a link to sign up for the webinar in today's show notes. As always, appreciate you listening, and if you have any questions about podcasting or starting a podcast, you can find me at jagindetroit.com. Stay healthy and stay safe. Later.
The most popular ways to grow a podcast are recommendations of friends and family. So share this episode with someone you know. And for any questions you have about podcasts, find Jag online at jagindetroit.com.